All right, welcome to another episode of Critical Weight Theory. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Greetings, Wade. Greetings, everybody. My name is A. Marc Ross. I'm an author. My most recent book is called Attacking the Dragon, which hopefully we can get to talk about today. And I've been very pleased with the book. It's picked up uh, recognition at several festivals and good reviews. So, having a lot of fun with it. So, thank you for having me, Wade.
Oh, sure. And I'm not exactly an expert on China, so what details do you go over in the book, and how informative is it when it comes to these international issues?
Mhm. Well, I've spent a fair amount of time in China for a number of years for business. And so uh, the book describes many of the places I've been. In fact, I think virtually every place in China that's in the book is a place I visited, so has accurate descriptions of them. And during my time traveling in China, I met a lot of Chinese professionals, business people, government officials, and Chinese Communist Party officials. And the Chinese characters in the book are based on them, sort of an amalgamation of different people I met. And so it accurately, I think, shows what a lot of these people are like. And it addresses one of China's main global initiatives, which is really the crux of the book. And
And what?
what that,
Oh, okay.
no, what that is something called China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is China's means of global expansion. China arranges for infrastructure projects in different countries. It's now done over 140, and I think of it as a form of colonialism, and it results in these companies strengthening their ties with China, but also makes them economically dependent upon China because they borrow money from China. At this point, uh, these projects have been built in over 140 countries, and China is owed over $1.2 trillion at this point regarding them. And many of these projects have not worked out well. And what this book is about is an unknown terrorist group attacking some of these projects for the purpose of getting countries to cease doing these things with China or curtailing their relationship. So it's unusual in that most books involving China, China is the aggressor. They're the ones with the Chinese Navy attacking or Chinese hackers. Here, China is the victim.
Sure. And usually in American media, the depiction is of China being an aggressive expansionist country and also dangerous. But when you've been to China, did you get that sense that they are like an especially authoritarian society, or is it a little bit more nuanced than these media portrayals?
Well, it is certainly more nuanced because I think very little isn't more nuanced than either the media or our politicians would portray it. But I think, first of all, you have to draw an important distinction between the Chinese people and the Chinese government and the Chinese party. In my trips to China, I have found the Chinese people to be nothing but friendly, hospitable, helpful. I've never felt meaningful resentment by virtue of being American. So, in that sense, it's all positive. Yes, clearly the government and the party is different. They have a much more aggressive attitude towards the United States. But in reality, China has not engaged in external wars in a very long time. So it's not that while they've threatened, for instance, Taiwan, they have not been and there have been border skirmishes with India, they haven't been the ones going out and launching wars in other countries. I do think that they're authoritarian. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
But like even when it comes to you said the word colonialism later, or early. Why did I say later? I meant earlier. but but
I'll
it's
say it
more like
later
a
too, if you'd
soft
like.
colonialism. It's more like a soft colonialism rather than military style.
Correct. They use the economic power to create relationships which help them. Uh, a lot of countries view themselves as Chinese allies by virtue of this and dependent upon China. And that gives China very strong power, for instance, at the UN and in many other contexts. Plus, there's an economic boom for China in that the cost involved in these projects ultimately resounds to China's benefit and makes these countries dependent upon China.
And
So,
when it comes to dependence on China, the, uh, the conflict between them and the United States, you often hear about how they are trying to influence our government, but is our government trying to unduly influence their government at all? Do you get that impression at all from what you know?
I have not gotten that impression, and although I'm sure we do, but I would think that it's probably much harder to influence their government than ours because we are so much more open about things and so much more can be learned about what's going on in the United States than what goes on in China. I mean, I'm sure there are spies and things like that that know a great deal, but I don't. And my book does not get involved with that. My book is involved with an unknown force attacking China.
Sure. And what are the characters like in that book? Like, what's the main
Yeah,
character? And
the two main protagonists are first, there's a man named Wesley. He is an American businessman who travels to China frequently and has very significant relationships with the Chinese business community and government officials. And the second one is a biracial woman who becomes the American ambassador to a small African country. And the two of them get caught up in these terrorist attacks. He is actually on the scene when an explosion happens, which kills many Chinese Communist Party members. And she's the ambassador to the country where great damage is done to a Chinese infrastructure project by the terrorists. And therefore, she becomes involved. So the book then becomes their efforts to find out who is behind these attacks while China is trying to do the same and protect themselves and cover themselves. And the hunt spans between China, Africa, and the United States.
so it's definitely that there's some secrecy involved in it, some mystery, as
Oh,
well as
there's
the action
absolutely
element.
mystery, and at the end of the book, one mystery is answered for the reader, but not for the main characters in terms of who is behind this. And so the hunt will continue in the sequel to this, which actually I'm in the midst of writing at the moment.
Hmm. So, what is it write, or what is it like to write a book about such a potentially contentious topic? Because it's sort of unlike Harry Potter. Like, sure, people might criticize this aspect of it or that, but you're depicting real places here, even if they're fictionalized.
Right. Well, the places are real. I really don't change them at all. What I try and do is be, in certain respects, non political in the sense that it's easy to say that the terrorists who are
What the hell?
causing damage and re- committing acts which result
Huh?
in deaths are bad, but this largely stays out of the US versus
I don't know what's
China
going on here.
controversy and taking positions about that. And similar to that, my first book, called The Conscripted Extremist, dealt with battles between.
All right. So, what can you tell me about the main characters in this story?
Well, the two main characters are individuals who are not spies or professional terrorists or anti terrorists, but they're normal people who get caught up in these affairs. One of them, a man named Wes or Wesley, is a businessman who does a lot of work in China, and he's actually on the scene when one of these terrorist acts takes place. There's an explosion, and many people are killed. He gets injured. The other main character is a biracial woman who's the American ambassador to a small African country. This country has a project that's being built by the Chinese, a dam, which explodes due to sabotage carried out by the terrorists. And as a result, many people are killed. So the two of them get caught up in the search for who is behind these terrorist attacks. At the same time, China's Ministry of State Security, which is their equivalent of the FBI, engage in the hunt as well, while also suspecting that West may have something to do with it.
And is this a separate book or is it part of a series?
This is the first book in what is probably a two-book series. I'm actually working on the second book at the moment. This book ends with a significant reveal to the reader, but not fully to the characters, as they will continue to hunt for the terrorists and have to engage in trying to stop their efforts. Uh, Meanwhile, both the China and the U.S. will be looking for who is behind this.
And when you were researching for this book, um, did you draw on your own experiences, or did you spend a lot more time like looking for specific aspects related to plot points in the story, if you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. The main research I did was regarding certain technical aspects, not regarding uh, parts of China itself, because I knew these areas and could, other than checking exact names or something like that, didn't need to do meaningful research regarding them. But for instance, there is an effort to build a dam, and so which is going to be attacked. So I had to learn about how, get a sense of how it builds a dam. Now, based on my research, I'm certainly not qualified to go out and build a dam, but I think I have enough to make it clearly understood what has gone into the making of this dam and how it could be sabotaged.
And that's one of the things that stops people from writing a book is that they worry about just seeming like they're stupid because they don't have all the details on something, and they don't want to get things wrong when they're writing about them.
And I can certainly understand that. And there's a limit to how far I would go. I've read many other thrillers and action books where there's extensive details. For instance, Dan Brown's most recent book, Secret of Secrets, is very detailed from a technological perspective. Uh, but these days, with the internet, you can learn an awful lot very quickly just sitting home at your computer. And
Ooh.
that's what I did.
And well, I don't want to have too many like spoiler type things in here, but like what are the dynamics between the characters here?
Well, my two main characters meet as a result of what is going on, and they join the hunt together. They ultimately um, become romantically involved. I'll go that far. Um, our villains are a mixed bag of pretty much pure evil to evil with a touch of humanity in them. And perhaps my favorite character is a Chinese steel worker steel works in a steel mill, who through an unfortunate, unfair circumstances has ended up there in life, and his daughter is gravely ill, and he gets caught up in assisting the terrorists as in exchange for them helping his daughter with finding a cure for her illness. And ultimately, he's confronted with very serious moral issues of how far he will go to save his daughter versus loss of lives of many other people.
Sure. That kind of reminds me. I've heard of real life gangs that kidnap people and force them to actually do things for the gang, which is kind of crazy if you think about the animosity that some people have toward gangs in general. If you think about the fact that some people are probably in those gangs not as a choice, but really as a survival thing.
I think you make a good point, and here, once my character takes the first step, he begins to get deeper and deeper involved. And at first, he is led to believe that what he's doing is innocent and that it will not result in any loss of life. But as time goes on, the truth begins to emerge. And at the end, he's got to make very, very difficult decisions.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to add about this book?
Well,
I'm sure there
sure.
is.
Sure. One thing I would say is if people are interested in the book, they can get either the paperback or an ebook copy from Amazon. They can also get a paperback copy if they go to my website, which is amarcross.com. Mark with a C at the end, not a K. So it's amarcross.com. And they can get a paperback copy there, autographed. So if anyone would like that, they can go that way. And if they enjoy it, I hope they would, you know, let people know about it because
This might be totally out of left field, but am I misremembering this or something misunderstanding it? But do you know Conan O'Brien or something like that?
wow. Yes. No, I don't
Okay,
know him. I was once on the Conan O'Brien show, his network show.
okay.
I There was a comedy special which for charity which you could contribute to. So I made a contribution by credit card. They were giving out prizes, and purely at random, I won the opportunity to co-host what they called it, stand next to Andy Richter or sit next to him on the couch on an episode of Conan's show. So they flew my wife and myself out there. We did the show. I did the show, and they wanted to do a comedy bit with me. And so I shared with them a true fact, which is that the first time or two that I went to China, uh, several Chinese women asked if I was Richard Gere. Now, your people can't see me, but I do not look like Richard Gere. But they were thinking of Richard Gere in the movie Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts. So we did a whole fake commercial with me as Richard Gere in China selling soap bubbles the way she was in the bath, and it was a lot of fun, and it got a lot of laughs.
Wow.
And actually, people can go on YouTube, and if you search Conan O'Brien, Richard Gere, and look for uh, guest who sort of kind of looks like Richard Gere, you can find it.
Wow, that's a quirky sketch. I should look into that. I think I'm a Conan O'Brien fan, so
Well,
it sounds
take a
sounds
look.
definitely worth it.
It was a lot of fun, and they were all very, very nice to us, and we really enjoyed ourselves, and it was a good time. And it's a rare thing; it doesn't happen every day.
Sure. Well, all right. I guess that's about it for this episode. I hope you had an all right time despite the technical difficulties that seem to be mounting. But yeah, definitely check out. What other books do you have, by the way?
My
I
other
suppose.
book is called The Conscripted Extremist, and it is available on Amazon in both paperback and ebook. And as I said, the sequel is done and hopefully will be out within the next few months. So it's a very interesting read, and part of it involves the hunt for Antifa. And as you know, the Trump administration has said that they're looking for the leaders for Antifa. So this has a lot of current aspects to it.
Hmm. Well, I can find Antifa by looking in the mirror. But
Don't let the administration know.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time, and you know, good luck with your book.
Thank you, Wade. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Yeah. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.